Hey guys, what's going on? Jeb here, and in today's video, we're going to be discussing why I believe that the Bitcoin and the cryptocurrency bear market of 2018 has finally come to an end. Yes, you heard me right, and yes, I am saying that. I do believe that the Bitcoin bear market is now over. Does that mean that I believe a new Bitcoin bull market is about to start? No, absolutely not. What I believe is happening is that Bitcoin and the cryptocurrency space is finally moving into what I am going to be calling the accumulation phase, which will then be leading into a new bull market probably sometime in the first half of 2019. I do believe the bear market is over, and I'm going to be explaining exactly why I believe it's over, or at least very, very close to over in today's video. But before we get into today's video, guys, if you enjoyed today's video, as always, definitely consider dropping a like, hitting that subscribe button, and smashing the notification bell, guys. We do cryptocurrency videos every single day, and I wouldn't want you to miss any of them. So let's go ahead and get right into it. One thing I do want to say at the beginning of the video is that Hurricane Florence is currently messing with and not exactly being very kind to the Carolina. So if you guys are in South or North Carolina, please stay safe out there. And everybody who, if you guys can help and you know anybody down there, send them some good words. I've been through hurricanes before. They can be very, very scary, and they can do a lot of damage. So I just want to thoughts and prayers to any of you guys who may be affected by that. Anyway, with that out of the way, let's go ahead and get into the video. I do want to do some short-term technical analysis on Bitcoin because Bitcoin has been looking very, very strong here over the last couple of hours, over the last 48 hours or so, actually. And then we're going to get into the main point of today's video. But Bitcoin had been trading in this consolidation down here around $6,100 to $6,400 over the last 7 days or so, and we've now broken up out of it, and we are showing a little bit of strength here. Ethereum is showing a very similar thing. It's actually getting a very, very strong bounce here. Ethereum was trading down here around $170 not that long ago, just a little over 36 hours ago. Ethereum was down here at a yearly low, and currently it's gotten well above a resistance level at $200. It's looking very, very strong, and indeed, Ethereum is up about 15% in the last 24 hours from when I'm recording this, with a refresh about 16%. Ethereum has been doing very, very well. If we got a ruler out here, we can see that in this time span, it has run about 30%. And I've definitely been buying Ethereum down here. I was buying Ethereum going into this little bottoming pattern down here at around $170. And it turns out I almost called the bottom perfectly, which I'm very, very happy about. But anyway, guys, tell me in the comment section down below if you caught that. But anyway, let's go ahead and do the crypto market recap, and then we'll go ahead and get into the main point of today's video. Like I said, Bitcoin is trading just a little over $6,500 with a daily volume hovering around $4.2 billion and a change over the last 24 hours of about 2%. Not seeing major moves on Bitcoin. We are seeing some pretty major moves in the altcoins, though. If we sort by change over the last 24 hours, we do see a lot of green in the altcoins. And of course, this is following quite a bit of red price action that we've seen in the altcoins recently. We do only see six losers, period. And two of those are two of those are stable coins. So the altcoin space is doing quite well in today's video and in today's time period that we're recording in. Like I said, Ethereum's trading around around $220, excuse me. But the reason that I'm making this video and what we're going to be talking about today is why I do believe that the Bitcoin bear market that we found ourselves in for 2018 is essentially over. And I do have a lot of reasons to explain why I believe that, with one stipulation, and that stipulation is if we do not go below $6,000. If Bitcoin confirms a break below $6,000, well, I have an entire video explaining what happens if we go below $6,000, at least in my opinion. You guys can watch that in the top right. But in short, that would most definitely prolong the Bitcoin bear market. We're going to run on the assumption that Bitcoin does not go back below $6,000 in this video, though, so I just want to preface with that. One of the first points I want to go ahead and make is the dropping volatility. What we saw in the run up to $20,000 and the subsequent sell-off is that Bitcoin had a lot of volatility back over here, starting in like November and running all the way through probably about May. Now, those are arbitrary time figures, but for the majority of the second half of 2017 and the beginning half of 2018, we saw a very, very, very volatile Bitcoin market, and indeed also a very, very volatile altcoin market. And a lot of that had to do with a lot of new money and a lot of green money getting into the space. A lot of people getting into the space that simply didn't know what they were doing and simply were trying to get into the space to get rich quick, because a lot of people were under the impression that you could just become a millionaire overnight with Bitcoin, which is very much true. You can, but it's not as easy as a lot of people think. And what we saw in 2017 is that a lot of people were getting into the space up here at the top, and then very, very quickly, when they realized that their dreams of being a crypto millionaire were being crushed by the second, they started selling, and we saw a lot of volatility. A lot of these swings, for example, were very, very large. The pullback from $20,000 to $6,000, it only took about a month and a half, was a 70% reduction in price action. From there, the bottom at $6,000, we ran up to around $12,000, which was close to a 100% return because we only went to about $11,700, excuse me. From there, we pulled back down to around $6,500. which was a decent pullback. It was about a 45% pullback. We ran up, we pulled back, etc., etc., etc. But these last two little market cycles that we've seen in the last 2 months or so have not been as volatile. What we've seen here is the biggest run that we saw was a 46% run. That is a pretty big run for the span of a month. Don't get me wrong, especially if we're talking about traditional markets. But for Bitcoin, what we've seen, the trend that we've seen over the majority of 2018 is that volatility has been dropping off. Volume has been dropping off. Interest has been dropping off. Adoption has been dropping off. Everything that should be dropping off when you're in a bear market has continued to drop off, as you would expect considering we're in a bear market. Things like adoption, awareness, not so much development, but especially things like volatility and volume, like I've talked about, have been continuing to drop off. And I think we finally started to hit that critical mass where the volume and the volatility and the interest of the bulls and the bears, period, has just gone so low that I think we're going to see Bitcoin transition from a declining market, as we've seen for the majority of 2018, into more of a sideways and stagnant market. $6,000 seems to be holding very, very well at the time being anyway. Like I said, assuming we don't go back below there. At the time being anyway, we've managed to set 5 bottoms in the $6,000 zone of support, and it doesn't seem like it's going to be breaking anytime soon. Can it break? Absolutely, guys. This is Bitcoin and cryptocurrencies. I can be wrong. The market can do crazy stuff. There's definitely a possibility we go below $6,000. At the time being, I don't think that's the most likely scenario, though. Like I've talked about in other videos, I think what's most likely is that we probably have about a 50 to 60% likelihood that we straight up trade sideways for the next 3 months on into the beginning of the next year. Maybe a 20 to 25 to 30% chance that we go below $6,000, and then the rest of that goes to a potential new bull run kicking off with a newer high above $7,400 and trying to get some newer highs coming in. And that's why I was talking about why I'm not necessarily saying a new bull run is coming, but I do think that the bear market is over. And another reason I want to talk about that, or another reason I believe that, has to do with the 2014 bear market. And one of the things that we have to do when we're doing technical analysis on major market cycles like this is we have to go back and look at market history to get an idea of what we're looking at. And really, like I've talked about, the only data point that we have when we're talking about longer term price swings for Bitcoin is the 2014 bear market and the 2015 accumulation phase leading into the 2016-17 bull market. And if we come back to the 2014 bear market, we see a very, very interesting thing. I've talked about in other videos, one of which you can watch up here in the top right, as to why I believe right around October the 15th, right around here, was when the bull market started. But when did the bear market end in 2014? I've never really discussed on the channel when this bear market ended, but it's very important to get an idea of when this bear market ended so we can get an idea of when our own bear market is ending. Because if we're ending a bear market, that probably means that we're going into an accumulation phase, and then it may be a good time to be buying for the long term. And one thing I want to point out is that I believe that the bear market for this market here in 2014 basically ended right about here when Bitcoin pulled back and set a permanent bottom down here at about $160, and it had broken a very important key level of support right here at $300. Now, I would say that $300 here is analogous to $6,000. I'm going to discuss in a second why I don't believe we're going to break that analogous level of support this time. But what I do want to make the point here is that I think this is where the bear market ended, and I think this is exactly where we are in our bear market. One thing I want to point out is this downtrend right here. Bitcoin was also plagued by a downtrend back here in the 2014 bear market in the same way that we currently are. And what we've seen is that Bitcoin has actually gotten above that downtrend. This is the downtrend of the long-term descending triangle pattern. We've seen Bitcoin get above that downtrend. We saw a lot of resistance and a lot of support and a lot of tests of that downtrend just recently, and Bitcoin has gotten back up above that level. But we didn't see the same thing happen in 2014. What we saw instead is that when this downtrend and the level of support converged, Bitcoin went below the level of support instead of getting above the downtrend of resistance. So take this analogy and then point it back over here to the 2018 bear market. What do we see? If Bitcoin were to follow the same market cycle that we saw in 2014, what we would expect was for Bitcoin to break the level of support and go down to maybe $3,000 or something like that, maybe to about half the level of support in the same way we saw in 2014 and 15. I don't think that's going to happen, though, and the reason I don't think that is going to happen, I did lay that out in another video, which, like I said, you can watch in the top right. But one of the biggest reasons I don't think that's going to happen is simply because the 2018 bear market doesn't have a catalyst. There's no real catalyst for the Bitcoin bear market of 2018. Go ask yourself, why is the Bitcoin bear market happening here in 2018? I mean, there's no central thing that you can point to that caused the Bitcoin bear market other than saying that Bitcoin was overextended and ran to $20,000 and didn't deserve that valuation, which is a very valid reason, but it was not a fundamental reason, which was one of the things that kicked off the 2014 bear market. And that was the hack of Mt. Gox. We have not had anything analogous to the hack of Mt. Gox in 2018 to kick off and extend the Bitcoin bear market in the same way that we saw in 2014. We simply haven't seen a massive fundamental news story like that. We haven't seen the United States go and ban cryptocurrencies. We haven't seen Tether implode on itself and leave literally thousands, if not hundreds of thousands of traders holding useless Tether or indeed holding absolutely nothing. We haven't seen anything really just implode upon itself. We haven't seen an exchange like Bitfinex go down and lose all of its trading. We haven't seen 80% of the market volume just vanish. We haven't seen hundreds of thousands of Bitcoin go missing. We haven't seen anything fundamental to be causing this Bitcoin bear market, which is why I don't believe this bear market is and will be as drastic as the 2014 bear market was. And that's why I was talking about earlier, how in 2014 we broke this level of support and went below it instead of breaking the level of resistance and going above it. But this time, since one of the reasons I also believe that that's not going to happen this time is because, like I said, we don't have a fundamental reason for the 2018 bear market. This is really just a long-term cool-off period, in my opinion. What I believe is going on right now is Bitcoin's just correcting, waiting for the next bull run to come, because a lot of people are just trying to buy in low, and there are a lot of people sitting on the sidelines waiting for Bitcoin to go low and buy in for the long term. I do think that this bear market is mostly over. Like I said, we're talking about volatility reasons, and we're also talking about reasons in relation to the 2014 bear market. Another thing that I want to talk about is the altcoins. If you come here to the website athcoinindex.com, I've referenced this website many times in videos, and it's very, very helpful. You can see how far retraced different cryptocurrencies are from their all-time high. As we can see, Bitcoin is retraced about 67% from its all-time high. Definitely not something that you want to see if you're going long on Bitcoin. If you're shorting, I'm sure you're having one hell of a time right about now if you've been shorting since the all-time high. But for the rest of us, not exactly a good sight. The altcoins have not fared any better. Many of these altcoins like Ethereum, XRP, Bitcoin Cash, EOS, Stellar, Litecoin, etc., 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 many altcoins that weren't even here during the 2014 bear market. Actually, all of these altcoins weren't even here during the 2014 bear market except for Litecoin, if I don't have my facts wrong. Then a lot of these altcoins have taken an absolute beating. And one thing I want to point out is that a lot of that valuation that's left the altcoins has actually gone into Bitcoin. And this is what we see on the Bitcoin dominance chart when we come to the Bitcoin dominance chart. And what we see is that over the last several months, Bitcoin's dominance has been rising very, very steadily. And what I think we're going to need to see for an accumulation phase to continue and for a new bull market to come is that I do believe that we're going to need to see a very high amount of Bitcoin dominance. And the reason I say that is because Bitcoin is perceived as a less risky, a safer investment vehicle that does have a track record, unlike many of these other altcoins, such as Ethereum, XRP, Bitcoin Cash, EOS, Stellar, Litecoin, etc., many of which have been around the block, but they haven't been here as long as Bitcoin. They weren't created by Satoshi Nakamoto. They weren't mined on January the 3rd, 2009, and they simply don't have the OG status that Bitcoin does, if you want to call it that. A lot of these altcoins have been hemorrhaging value and putting it back into Bitcoin and helping to support Bitcoin, which is one of the reasons why I'm very happy to see that Bitcoin is up, Ethereum is up as much as it is over the last little while. But the fact is, much of this valuation has been going back into Bitcoin, and I don't necessarily think that trend is going to stop. I think a lot of the valuation for the altcoin for the altcoins has already left the altcoins and will be continuing to go back into Bitcoin and already has. But at the end of the day, guys, I do think that this Bitcoin bear market is mostly over. Like I said, do I believe that the new Bitcoin bull run is around the corner? Not necessarily. I think there's a chance, but not necessarily. I don't think that's what's most likely. What I think is most likely is that Bitcoin trades sideways here on into the beginning of 2019, and somewhere around Q1, maybe Q2 of 2019, we start going up and we start setting higher highs, and we do kick off a new bull run. But anyway, guys, as always, I will keep you guys up to date on the market. So long as I am here on YouTube, I will be giving you guys some updates on the market whenever Bitcoin does something interesting. So if you enjoy, definitely consider dropping a like, hitting the subscribe button, and smashing the notification bell, guys. And also, one thing I wanted to add is that some people have been asking about the course lately. The course is still happening. I have an internal deadline, which I'm going to keep internal for right now, but just know that it is right around the corner. I just recorded 2 videos for it today, and I am very much liking the way it's shaping up, and I think you guys are going to get a lot of value out of it. But anyway, guys, I hope you got a lot of value out of this video. If you did, tell me in the comments section down below. Let's get a conversation going. I love talking to you guys as always. Also, like I said in the beginning of the video, I reckon this is going to be, I believe I said in the beginning of this video, that might have been a failed recording. I believe that this is going to be a rather controversial video considering the topic, so it should definitely be very fun reading the comments as always. But anyway, guys, like I said, that's going to do it for this video. I do want to thank each and every single one of you for watching as always, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Peace!